All right, back once again, and this time it's time for the play-in edition of Team for Free Agency and Off Season. Now, I was like, you see my previous video? I was like, I did collected a whole bunch of them and just started talking about them because I was like, I'm gonna go in depth with some of them and some of them not because there's some of them that I'm like, y'all might not really have moves that you can really do, or it might just be so simple. We'll go with that. Let's go start with the East. Let's start with those Atlanta Hawks. And they had the number one pick. I was like, I'm not going to try to pronounce the dude's name. I think it was like Rashard Nasir or something like that. Look, I'm probably butchering it. But hey, he's really young, French dude. And I was like, I think they need to figure out what they're going to do with DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, Clint Capella. Like that's really their like main three. And I was like, I guess you want to say Bogey in there, but I feel like they sell off some of the other ones. He's going to be gone along with DeAndre Hunter. I just feel like they're sort of part of the old regime. Murray's over here is like that one last like saving grace, but I was like, now don't get me wrong. I was like, I don't know what you could really do or get for Trey that you might end up just keeping him. I think you get stuff for Clint Capella because he's a big man, and I was like, to me, I was like, certain teams will be able to be good for him just because it's like, okay, cool, you just need hey, I need a big body in order to use against this insert guy here. So I think he could be a good trade pick. I was like, DeAndre Hunter, I was like, he's not what I think anybody thought he was going to be. I thought he was at least going to be a little bit more of a more 3-and-D guy that could get a little bit his own shot, but I was like, and I think Bogey, older player, I was like, even though he ain't been in the league that long, I think those two can catch some fair, but you really got to figure out Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, just blow the whole thing up. That's really the direction. So it's like it's really hard to figure out who they might try to get in free agency just because you don't know what direction they're going to go. The Bulls, I would say, I think they keep Levine. I don't think they have a choice, but I think you should go ahead and keep Levine. They just traded Caruso for Giddey, and I was like, I like that. I like that choice. I was like, you need another. I was like, you need a point guard that's going to be in the spot of Lonzo Ball. Yeah, Kobe White signed this whole year, so that looked like a pick that just like came out. See if you can get something for Vooch. And I will let DeMar DeRozan go unless you could do a sign and trade and get something significant back. I know there's like talks of him going to the Clippers, and like yes, if you're able to get like Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey, and I'm trying to think of like who's some. They don't really have any young players either, but yeah, if you get some of those pieces, I was like, hey, cool, and figuring out identity there. I was like, look, you're going to need somebody to score. You might as well keep Levine. I was like, you going to see what you got at Giddey. He's still young. He could run the point. See about that. I was like, Kobe White shine, and I was like, guess what? He's another guy. So guess what? If you can get some pieces for them type of dude, but break it up. Just go ahead and break it up. Levine is still young enough. Giddey got some playoff in him. Hey, you can make it work, and you'll still probably be a playing team regardless, but just blow it up. The Miami Heat, obvious. I think figure out what you're going to do with Jimmy Butler. I think he's probably going to stay just because I don't think there's anywhere that he could really go with how this whole new thing operates that is going to be substantial of what the pieces you can get back from him, and it makes sense. I was like, I really don't think they have a choice but to stay packed. I was like, don't get me wrong. I was like, there's players they might be able to get, but I don't know who would be like Donovan Mitchell. I was like, we got to figure out that situation. And I was like, but you don't know where that's going to go in order to make that a thing. So it was like really just sort of like being on the fringes or whatever, like maybe like getting Tyus Jones if they don't just keep Terry Rozier. I was like maybe Nick Claxton because you just sort of need a center. And I was like, I know he ain't a center, but I was like, you could play him and Bam sort of at the same time. I think. I was like, you might end up losing Caleb Martin. So I was like, Sadiq Bey. I was like, I'm gonna say his name a couple times again. I wouldn't really mind DeMar DeRozan on this team, to be honest. I don't think they would do it. I don't think they have the money to do it like that. But I don't. I think he was another dude that could get buckets. He played nearly the whole year, all the time. So it's like cool. It's like and him, Butler, Bam. I think it's sort of like how, don't call it no big three, but they're all sort of like one options in a way that's kind of like, okay, cool. If you got this collection with some other people around them, you can do something with it. Then when you have like your 1A sort of here and then your 1B is really here, you know, how people sort of were feeling about Bam and Jimmy for the longest. I was like, it's like, oh, okay, cool, they're here, but that's not enough to balance out, you know, whereas like, you know, it's like, yes, none of them are at those star level, but I was like, the three of them together in the East, where it's like, okay, cool, they should be able to get like the fourth seed, fifth seed, right? Maybe sort of. Maybe I'm speaking too highly here. Um, and then we got the 76ers. And I think the 76ers, which I'm sort of like, I know there was like OG and Anobi, and I was like, I wouldn't have been mad at that. I don't think they should do Paul George. That should not be what they do. I think their pick up they need to do is KCP. I think that's the dude they should get. He's not going to cost the same thing as no PG, but I was like, he's a two dude that can play next to Maxi, can guard your best player, can spot up and shoot threes. I was like, he didn't have to with Denver, but we've seen that he's capable of like getting his own shot when he had to do it all them years in Detroit. I was like a couple of years in Detroit and a little bit with the Lakers during their down years. I was like, I think that sort of helped him develop. But if he ain't got to do it, he ain't got to do it. But I think with the 76ers, I think their whole thing should be a whole. I don't think they should just sign one guy. I think they should sign a multitude of guys. I think they should go ahead, get KCP. I think they should bring back Kelly Oubre back. I think they need to get somebody like Precious Achua or something like that, where it's like another big man, because Joel Embiid missed games, but a big man that can do enough to not let the ship sink. I think that's what they need to do. Um, I was like, I was like, a Caleb Martin. I don't think would be bad if you can't like bring back Kelly Oubre. Campaign did pretty good for him in the minutes that he did play as a backup to Tyrese Maxey. I was like, I wouldn't. If Buddy Hield came back at the right price, I don't think that'd be a bad pick in any of this. Um, yeah, I was like, I would see her bring back Nicholas Batum for a minute as well too. Like, you know, like I would just bring pieces around them to where it's like you look up and it's like you almost are sort of doing Denver, where you got the point guard like Jamal Murray, you got the center with Jokic to Joel Embiid. KCP is basically the plug-in player of that situation. I was like, Nicholas Batum is really sort of like Michael Porter Jr. because it's just really shoot threes and I was like, and to be honest, Nicholas Batum defends. Porter just got the upside of like maybe one day he'll do all this stuff. I was like, I know that he's down the roster, but I was like, Kenyon Martin Jr., I think that would have been a good pickup at the four because he's energetic, he could dunk and all this other stuff. Kelly Oubre, he could score and shoot threes. So I think that's the way you want to go. It's like almost Denver, but also like, you know, Boston, where you get a lot of good players around them, or like the Knicks, where you just get a bunch of quality players. Like, I think that's the way they need to go for Sixers because Embiid, the way he gets hurt, and I was like, I don't think I was like, as much credit everybody want to give Maxey, how he wasn't in playoffs. Everybody like, can he be the new number one now and all the other stuff? And I was like, he couldn't carry the whole season while Joel Embiid's out, so there's a drop off. So let's get the supporting cast strong around him that makes it where there's no Embiid. It's like, okay, cool, but we're just not gonna get ran through until he gets back. And also some insurance where it's like, hey, we got these extra big men. We got we got more to other pieces. Like, go ahead and get like snag up Jordan Clarkson. I was like a scorer off the bench. I was like, that's what you need to do. You need to go ahead and grab other players that you could do like the almost like the Dallas Mavericks type of thing. I was like, you're gonna see that quite a bit where it's like you just got a collection of players. Once you got the two dudes, you got a collection of players. The West Side. Oh, that sounded. I was like, wow. That sounded like a whole thing right there. I felt I was out there when I said West Side. All right, so Kings, I was like, don't really have much. I was like, I think that really there. I was like, I don't see them having a big upgrade unless they could really do like Harrison Barnes for Jeremy Grant, just because I was like, I think they get. I was like, but I think they might keep Barnes because he's sort of been around while they've been doing this turnaround of the whole like the Bean thing. But I don't think that'd be a bad pick. I was like, he can sort of score. I was like, play defense. I think he sort of gives you more juice than what Barnes is sort of getting you at this part of his career. But I don't think there's really anything they could really do. I could also see them doing Tobias Harris because they talked about him earlier. And on this team, I don't think Tobias Harris would be back. Because I was like, you don't need him to show up in the same way you did when he was on Philly. Like he can replace Barnes in a lot of ways that with Philly you was wanting more, and he was making the money that you expecting more. The Pels, I think you just figure out what you're gonna do with Ingram. I think kind of like they got enough depth, they got enough guard, they got enough, from Daniels and Murphy and Herbert Jones and stuff like that. And I guess they got to find another center because they're gonna lose Valanciunas. So find another center that you can put with Zion. But figure out what you're gonna do with Ingram. And I wanted to put Ingram in a lot of spots, but I just don't know where he could go where also it fits. Like I was like, I don't know if he's a fit with Miami, or nothing. I maybe I was like, maybe you put him down there with Atlanta to try to one last hurrah. I don't know, but I don't know who. What would you even trade back for Ingram? Uh, yeah, no, I was like, and I don't know any of the younger teams I could think of. I was like, that you would give them to that wouldn't sputter your other young stars either. So he's a real. Maybe I was like, would the Nets do something like that? Where it's just like they got all the picks. I was like, it could be his team. You know what? Maybe I was like, I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll do it this year. I think the Pels are going to try to run it back with Zion healthy, Brandon Ingram not being how he looked in the playoff, where he was sort of hurt coming off an injury, that type of thing. Um, Warriors, I think they're going to lose Klay Thompson, but I think they should go all in on Paul George. I think they should. I was like, will it probably suffer in the long run? Yeah, but if you ain't gonna sign Klay Thompson back, and I'm not even saying that necessarily they should, because I was like, I get for maybe you're asking for more money from them than you would somewhere else, and I think that the Warriors, I think Paul George gives them something they don't have of a guy that can get his own shot that Klay Thompson can't do. He can shoot threes, but he also can defend the top dude on the other side, something that Klay can't really do anymore. I think also the way that they play ball, the old way of Golden State, isn't how they're going to play it anymore. I think kind of like you got Kaminga over here, and I was like, he's not going to necessarily play that type of way. That's not necessarily his game. And I think this new iteration is that, hey, Klay can still do what he got to do, but now you got two dudes over here that could create their own shot, something that you never had before, except for when you had Kevin Durant. I was like, now they got to do some sign and trade for him. That's a little different because I was like, sure, you can have Wiggins, but I don't know about if you want, like, maybe you take Moody. All right, okay, cool, because we got Pajinski over here. But if you wanted Pajinski and you wanted Jackson and all, I was like, that's I think that's a little too much. Not saying that you don't go ahead and give up some of the young players in order to keep Curry going, but it's like you can't replace, because of the way your team is situated with that second apron, you're not going to be able to replace them as easy than you could trade them away. And so I'm like, that's why I'm like, if you get Paul Jordan, like, Wiggins and maybe Moody, all right, cool. But if it's got to be some of the other ones, it's like, because you're going to lose Looney, so you need Jackson in order to cover that spot. So that's why I said I don't know about that. Like the trade that it needs to be. But if you're able to get Paul George in there without giving up Kaminga and Pajinski and stuff, I'd do it. And I was like, Wiggins, go ahead, be over there, and you be the fourth option. That's fine. It'll work out. You just need to play defense and be tall. That's all. You ain't got to have the pressure of what you was with Golden State or nothing like that. And then we are with the Lakers. I don't think there's really any move that they're going to make. Should there be? Sure. I was like, I would probably trade Rui for Jeremy Grant, just because I was like, I think they're very similar like players, except for I was like, I know what I'm gonna get out of Jeremy Grant, whereas I don't know what I'm gonna get out of Rui. Rui's still young to where it's like, oh, okay, cool, you want to sort of keep this young dude because with the team you got I was like 6'10" type of dude, big body, but you don't know what you're getting out of him. Whereas like Jeremy Grant, you know what you're gonna get out of him. You know the defense level, you know the shooting. He come with that long ass contract, but I was like, Rui, I think, signed a 4-year deal, so he got 3 years left at a big ass number. But Jeremy Grant got 4 years left with a big ass number. He's older, but I think that he's also sort of but he's more in the window with AD, but also able to help LeBron. That I don't think that would be a bad pick. I was like, I don't know what they're gonna do with D'Angelo. He's gonna have to uh, lock in for a player option, and he might. But to me, I probably think that I would probably try to move off of him. Reeves at the point, try to figure out another different type of number two that you want to have there. And to be honest, I was like, you're gonna have to find some people on the outside skirts in order to get the team going, like how they did with Taurean Prince. I was like, I think he's a good piece to keep. I was like, Cam Reddish, just go ahead and let that go. Woods, let that go. You got some young players too. I was like, you got Connect that might play some big minutes. I was like, you drafted Hoods or Safino last year, big point guard. If you want to let D'Angelo go and Reeves and him, you got Max Christie still there. So you got some players that you could do without, and then like try to see if you get like a Buddy Hill on the cheap after his down season. Um, I was like, man, I was like, Ty Jones might be a little too much, and that I don't know if you want a small backcourt like that. With that, they talked about Jonas Valanciunas. I don't think that'd be bad because he give you good lineups. I was like, he shoots more threes. To me, he seemed like he's willing to take more threes than AD. So I feel like you could play him at the 5 and AD at the 4, and it's not that bad. Or one off, whenever, and you don't miss anything. But Valanciunas is a really good rebounder, so I think that will also be a good pick there too. Um, I think they missed a train on DeMar DeRozan or whatever. Gary Harris, I think, would be bad. I'm trying to think of like people who aren't going to cost crazy amount or stuff like that. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, no. I was like, they should be able to be all right there. Um, yeah, so that's all the ones I got for the little play-in brackets of East West. Uh, yeah, tell me what you hope for your team. I was like, is there any moves your teams could do? Do you think there's any big splashes? I don't think there's any big splashes. I think we're all going to be trying to figure out around the margins or whatever for most of these teams. But I think the Warriors have the biggest chance to add somebody. And the 76ers, I think, should go with a group collective and adding that one person. But hey, let me know what y'all think.